Hello and welcome back to the Halo series. My name is Brooke Brown, Director of Marketing at Halo Consulting. Today I am joined by Dr. Angela Crutchfield, CEO at the Crutchfield Group. Thanks for joining me today, Angela. How's it going so far?
Going well. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm excited for our discussion today. If you're new to this event, Halo hosts monthly virtual roundtables covering current trends in the HR, tech, and DEI space. Don't forget to check out the Halo mini-series where we hear from executives taking a deep dive into a multi-part series discussing what is keeping them up at night. If you enjoyed this content, hit that like and subscribe button, and be sure to visit Halo's LinkedIn page to subscribe to the Halo content where we summarize current market trends and we recap our past events. Throughout our session today, we are going to cover empowering success and leadership competencies for women. Before we kick off the questions, let's get started with you, Dr. Angela. Can you share the story of how you began your career and how it led to founding the Crutchfield Group, a company that's dedicated to transforming the lives and leadership abilities of individuals?
That's an interesting question, and I'll do my best to answer it specifically, but I have to go back to my personal history, I think, to answer this most effectively. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and growing up as a Black female, Black woman in South Memphis is an important historical fact that is really foundational for my career and my career trajectory for that matter. So much that I could say about that, but I only really want to focus in on this topic that we're talking about today, which really touches on that leadership development, lifestyle coaching, the things that I do specifically for women today. And that's my primary focus. So if I go back to my younger years and growing up in Memphis, I'll just go back as far as high school, if that's okay. So during my high school years in Memphis, there were two very distinct moments of clarity that helped me shape my focus on leadership. I participated in the Reserve Officers Training Board, ROTC, and a statement was made to me by my ROTC instructor, Sergeant Lamb, and it has remained in my mind throughout my adulthood. And at the time, I was 17 years old, and I was a junior. And I was assigned the most elite, most wanted position of any position as a part of the ROTC program, and that was battalion commander. And if anybody knows anything about military or language from military, the battalion commander is over all of the troops, basically. So that opportunity was my first official affirmation of my true leadership capabilities. Now, instead of the instructor assigning the highest ranking student that position, one of the senior boys, Sergeant Lamb told me, a good leader knows how to follow. And the highest level of ROTC leadership should have been given to you 2 years ago. And I was shocked to hear him say that. And he said it should have been given to me because of my solid leadership abilities. And I needed to see if you could naturally, turn that natural ability into something good. And he said all this to me at 17. And he said, you have to be a good follower, and I need to see if you could be a good follower. And he told me that I had proven to him that I was more than ready for the leadership of the program. And I appreciated his perspective so much at that time. However, the true value never really became clear to me and until I found myself needing to pull forward some thoughts when I found myself being challenged in my capability and someone devaluing me in the workplace as a Black woman. I had to remember that at 17, I was told by a Caucasian male, older male, that I had leadership capabilities beyond my age. But here I am, an adult Black woman, feeling inadequate and insufficient and unable to do this. So that shaped my thought because I was able to pull that forward into my adult years for me to be successful. And then there was one second moment in high school where I had a conversation with our school's guidance counselor when I was upset that 3 of my friends who were supposed to go away to college with me, we were all going to the same college, they decided not to go. And I was just upset about it. They didn't know I was upset, but I had to talk to somebody. So I talked to the guidance counselor, and she said something to me that has, again, stayed with me. She said, don't be upset. She said, you have to focus on your future, and you must make the decision to leave Memphis. Whatever you do, get out of Memphis. Do it for yourself. Lead yourself. And she said, the best guidance that I can give you is just that, leave Memphis. And there's a big world out there. And getting out of Memphis is the only way that you're going to see it. Don't let other people influence you negatively. You have to go. And influence is really what leadership is all about. So when I think about those experiences and knowing that I allow myself to influence myself versus negativity to influence me, and to take in that information from Sergeant Lamb that I was truly a leader, that set a foundation for me. And wanting to motivate others in those two moments really changed everything about how I operate. And I never looked back, you know. I continue to walk this path forward of leadership, and not positional leadership, by the way. Right? We want positional leadership, and that's a good thing, but leadership is influence. John Maxwell says that all the time. And there is a difference between those two things. So that really set the foundation for what it is that I do today and what I've established as a part of Crutchfield Group and the services I offer for leadership development and lifestyle coaching for women.
Wow, I love that. And the guidance counselor, and just back in high school, because that's where it's like the hardest to see that within yourself. And if you're being told that, that is a great foundation to keep going back, you know, to that moment to keep moving forward. So thank you for sharing that story. I love that. Well, let's jump right into the first question then, while we're on the leadership topic. In your opinion, what leadership skills are essential for advancing women in the leadership roles?
Well, I think women have faced challenges for many years. You know, I think there are human resources or employment laws that are in place to support women as well as other marginalized groups of people so that we can be treated in a fair and equitable way in the workplace. I think that our skills are there and have been there, but the visibility of opportunity for women just hasn't fully been there, and that's reality. And I think we as women in the workplace have to focus on a level today much higher than ever in the past. As women in leadership positions actually continues to increase, so does the need for development. So I think a focus on development of core capabilities that really impact how we lead others is really vital. Leadership is about people. Management is about the work. And understanding those two different things and being able to pull them together effectively is going to be vital for our success as women in leadership. And leadership takes practice, and it takes hands-on experience of really being thoughtful about how am I connecting people through this purpose-driven effort. And when we understand that at the foundation and at the core, we can truly be higher levels of leader with ease. Now, do we have barriers or blockage that might be there? Yes, those things happen at times, but we want to make sure we're doing what we can to position ourselves. And many people have never even tried to be a leader because they have no understanding of what leaders actually do. And you can build competence in leadership over time if you do the work. And so I would encourage women to be thoughtful about where am I and what things do I need to do. And some of the basic leadership competencies we know are communication, decision making, change management, ethics, conflict management, goal setting. Those are standard, and we have to do that. But I want to challenge you to think about some additional competencies that I want to give you. For women in leadership, there are some additional competencies that should be considered. What I have designed is a competency model specifically for women. And the competencies are going to be really important for the development of skills to really be that person of influence and to be specifically what I tag as a transformational leader. We want to drive change and be solid in our efforts to do that. So my model is called the PESSCE Leadership Competency Model. And PESSCE, spelled differently, PESSCE. It is the second half of a bigger picture that I've designed around peace. I have peace, lifestyle wholeness for women, and that peace is again spelled PESSCE, which is for physical, emotional, spiritual, social, career, and economic wholeness on that lifestyle wholeness side. For leadership, peace leadership competencies is a little bit different. So I designed it with a focus specifically on Black women and the unique concerns that are faced in the workplace by women who have melanin in their skin like me, and they're seeking higher levels of leadership. And I created the model from studying the self-perceived credibility of Black women in healthcare administration. And I examined the lived experiences of Black women in the workplace and the unique challenges that are faced. And the experiences, they really, from the participants in my study, they basically really resonated with me because I've experienced so much of what they shared with me, especially in healthcare administration. But for me, I've been in healthcare administration, academia, aerospace and defense contracting, nonprofit, public, seminar business as a public speaker, self-employed, as a consultant, as a coach, and I still have experienced all of the same things. So I can relate to the perspectives that many of the women shared with me. And my experiences of being devalued and overlooked, it showed up in so many ways in the workplace, and it pushed me to be thoughtful about what things do I need to do differently to take myself to the next level. So I wanted to put that into a competency model based on my experience, based on the input from my study, to better equip and help women who look like me, but I realized that this model is for all women. So my Peace Leader Competency Model speaks to the competencies that we must engage to go above and beyond those standard competencies. So the Peace Leadership Competency Model includes the first letter P, which is precision. That means we're going to demonstrate this keen focus on accuracy in our work and meeting our deliverables. And we have to be more precise in what we do because we already are going to be viewed in a certain way. And that's not something I'm making up. That's the reality of our experiences. So being very precise in what we do is a great, thoughtful competency to consider. Engagement. Are we being strategic and thoughtful about development and engagement of our staff? We can't just focus in on ourselves. It's very easy to do that because we are always, in a way, fighting an uphill battle for positioning. But we can't negate the importance of addressing the needs of the people who are a part of our team. So being thoughtful about how we are engaging them is going to be important, and embracing others and meeting them where they are. And then speed. PES, so precision, engagement, speed. This is going to be where we have a heightened awareness of accuracy, right? But we want to make sure that we're delivering our services, whatever that is, whatever, if we are leading a team of people, whatever we're doing, we want to have a focus on meeting the needs of others and not basically indulging in delays. And I've seen this happen where people end up in an effort to support themselves, they sabotage others and delay things and don't give people what they need. Let's not do that. We've got to be focused on being expeditious in our efforts and doing it in a precise way all at the same time. So we want to meet those deliverables in a timely manner. Then that next S is self-assurance. This is a huge one because oftentimes we are not confident in ourselves and we're not demonstrating that as a leader. I'm not talking about arrogance. Don't be arrogant. Don't show up in a negative way, but show up in a confident way. And make sure you're showing up as your true, authentic self so that the core capabilities that you bring to the table can be seen by others. Being calm, that's the C, calmness. When we don't show up calm, you know what we're tagged as? And I'm just going to go ahead and say it, Brooke. We have two titles that are given to us. For those who look like me with melanin in my skin, we're tagged as the angry Black woman. Okay, if we show up in a way where we are, just really trying to express ourselves in a way that really is a result of what's being presented to us. Or if the person doesn't have melanin in their skin and they look a little more like you, you're going to be called the B word, right? We're tagged and labeled in that way. So I think if we think about the competency or the competence rather, the competence of calmness, we can really do our part to help reverse that negative narrative that's put upon us. I'm not saying we are causing this. I'm not saying that we've done something wrong. However, I think we need to display an unwavering ability to manage challenges with the presence of what I call peace. Again, peacefulness, which is on that lifestyle side. We've got to be thoughtful about how we're showing up and being composed, demonstrating composure. This is the appropriate way to navigate challenges as a leader. and manage situations appropriately so that we are not tagged as something that we are not by doing and demonstrating behaviors that we don't want to show. And then lastly, excellence. We have to do everything with excellence, ensuring that our deliverables and our interactions with others are exceeding expectations. It exceeds not only the expectation of others, but even our own expectations. Sometimes we can set the bar here, and we think if we hit that bar, we're good. I think we need to set the bar and then go above that bar. So if we can get that precision, that engagement, speed, self-assurance, calmness, and excellence, I think we can be very successful in leadership roles as women in the workplace.
I wish I had that model going into the work world as a woman, because it does take a lot, and it takes, I think, experiences too, to even step up and, do the basic competencies, but then to tie in all of this, it takes work, and you just have to stay true to yourself. And I think that's sometimes, for my opinion, where I got lost in the way. It's you're trying to go with the corporate norms or what you think should be perceived as what they want, and you just got to stay true to yourself and stick with what you know and what you want to hold true to that platform of what you're trying to get across.
That is so true, Brooke. And what's interesting about what you just said, we find ourselves, a term that we hear a lot in this space of diversity and inclusion is code switching, right? Where we have to be something other than, or someone other than who we are when we go into the workplace, because of what has been set up as the norm in the workplace, or the expectation or the standard. And I think that causes a person to shrink back and not show up as their true authentic self, which is what you're describing. And having a focus on the second S, which is that self-assurance, is really, really crucial. And knowing that we can balance it with that calmness so that we can truly be authentic and not be aggressive or not be viewed in these negative terms is really, really crucial. So I'm glad to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you for sharing, Brooke.
No, yeah, thank you for sharing. That's a great model, and for people to, especially women, to take with them. Let's move on to our next question. If you were given the opportunity to travel back in time, would there be a mentorship program or initiative that you wish was available to guide you on the path you're on now, but wasn't offered at a previous organization?
Oh, absolutely, Brooke. I think it kind of hinges on exactly what you just said. And having some sort of a mentorship program that included women in leadership positions who could model and encourage the young me would have been amazing. And we didn't have that. I am a person, I grew up in the 70s, 80s. I was a teenager in the 80s, right? So we didn't have a lot of role models in place at that time. We didn't even have those role models in entertainment. That is why the celebrities, Diana Carroll, some of the people who, the few faces that looked like mine on television were so powerful for us, right? Modeling. We didn't see a lot of models who looked like us. One, I could probably just name one if I were to think of any at all. And I wish we could have shown up stronger in this space of being a leader. And even if it was positional leadership, where people maybe didn't understand this term leadership, because leadership is different from management, and right. So if a person was in a management role and someone placed the right value on them, and they could become a strong mentor for younger girls, that would have been amazing. And it's kind of sad to see that the history of our country really dictated that, not only for girls with melanin, but just all girls. I mean, think about it. We just did not have the right picture for us to know that we could climb the corporate ladder, right? We didn't have it. And I think there would be less defensiveness among the strong, beautiful, young adult women today if we had more mentorship programs. They're not fighting for position, they are taking positions with strength and power. However, the interpretation has created this negative, inaccurate portrait of us as women. And I think mentorship programs targeting Gen X, Gen Y, when we were preteens, teenagers, young adults, would have been great. So if I were to look back, I would want to have had a me back then. And that would have just been amazing. I want to add one little caveat here that really is so interesting when I think about it. I had an opportunity earlier this year to interview Dr. Clarence Jones, who was the speechwriter, lead speechwriter for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it was so powerful. He was very active, obviously, as a part of the civil rights movement. And because of that, he's an attorney, and he's just over the years has kind of maintained his presence in and being heavily involved in civil rights. And when I had the opportunity to interview him, he ended the interview by saying, he actually cut me off. He said, Dr. Crutchfield, I got to say one more thing. As I was wrapping up, he said, I look at you, and if Martin were here, that he, I'm paraphrasing here, and the video is available. He said he would do like me. He would begin to cry when I look at you and see you sitting here. And basically, for me, that meant I was touching history, Brooke. I just felt so humble, so inspired, so encouraged, because here is this gentleman who was a part, he worked directly with Dr. Martin Luther King, and he's looking at me and valuing me as Dr. Angela Crutchfield. That was so powerful to me, and that happened just this year, and it encouraged me so much to want to drive forward even harder and being an influencer and being helpful to other women so that we can see our true value, because history touched me that day, and I touched history, and history placed value in me. It was amazing, absolutely amazing.
Check out that interview, but that's like to keep that momentum going. And I would say that's kind of like a full circle from when you heard that in high school to now what you're doing and that path you kept moving forward to hear that from Dr. Clarence Jones. Wow. That's a moment right there. Wow. I'll have to listen to that.
It brought me to tears. It brought me to tears. I literally, I just said, okay, there you go.
Wow. I have goosebumps. That's amazing. We'll have to get that link so I can watch and listen to that, because that's inspiring. Just with everything you're doing, and to end an interview that way, be like, yes, please cut me off, because that is what I want to hear.
Wow.
We've kind of touched a little bit on this, but when developing leadership programs and initiatives, how can we ensure that we're prioritizing women leadership competencies while also promoting the diversity, equity, and inclusion within an organization?
Well, women's leadership competencies, that is promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Giving greater consideration to women and other marginalized groups is crucial. So leading any diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging efforts, it requires that there's a focus on treating everyone in a fair and equitable way. Everyone. And we have to understand that our history has dictated differently for us as a country. And that cannot be ignored. And that does not contribute to being more divisive. It contributes to being educated and being thoughtful about how we should move forward and do things differently. And that means having clarity on things such as who actually is the dominant culture or group of people in America. I was doing a training a couple of days ago, and I had someone say to me during the training session, after I gave some information about who's considered the dominant culture and how all the rest of us kind of, if I were to put a circle on the screen, they're inside of the circle, we're all outside of the circle, but we all have work to do to end the divisiveness, which means we got to get rid of that circle so that we all are treated in a fair and equitable way. Well, there was a person in the room, and I won't mention, I don't even have to mention the demographic information of the person, you probably can figure it out, but this person said, well, I have to disagree with you. And I disagree with you because I believe that Caucasian men, because I said Caucasian men are the dominant culture. Caucasian men, cisgen, certain economic status, religious faith, usually Christian, and obviously over a certain age. And that's just history and reality. Well, she didn't care to, I said she, sorry. That's okay, you can keep it. You can keep that information quiet, everybody. Don't say I said it. So the person said that the Black men are the dominant group in America. And Brooke, I'm so glad I know how to keep my composure. So can you imagine, how would you have responded to that? I was just gonna turn the tables and ask you, how would you have responded to that?
I would have had to probably keep my composure a little bit, or what sometimes I'm known as rolling my eyes a little bit much, so I had to make sure that was in check, because I've been told that. So I agree with that person that raised their hand.
It was definitely not a valid statement. And the reality of it is, that says, there's so much I can say about that statement. Let me just say that. Yes. But that would take this conversation in a totally different direction, and we don't want to do that. But what I will say about that statement, it was very clear to me. That was an example of the lack of clarity on the reality of our country and the obvious needed work that still needs to be done. And, you know, that person, and I think one other person probably, I don't think it was the same person, but someone else, even had the audacity to place a phone call during the training to the sponsoring organization, the organization that actually brought me in and contracted with me to deliver this training, and indicated that I was talking about things that were off topic from this particular topic. And I won't go into the details of the topic, but I typically use diversity and inclusion examples with most subject matters that I cover. And in this, I'll tell you, in this case, it was on effective communication and communicating with tact and diplomacy. And as a part of the discussion, I used examples around diversity and how effective communication requires us to be considerate of all people. So this person made the phone call, and this is what I found out later, but this happened at the same time that our former president was being arrested in Atlanta. I had no idea. And apparently they had that idea. So they made, I think they made an assumption that I was speaking about something based on that, and I had no idea. And I don't even talk politics. I don't take sides in what I do. I just talk from a historical lens. So it was quite interesting to me. So I'm giving that example because I think development of leadership programs and initiatives that are focused and thoughtful about diversity and inclusion require us to think about the lack of clarity that some people still have about where we are as a country and the needed work that still must take place.
I agree, and I think it goes back to like just the communication and education as well. So it'd been interesting to hear any biases or maybe experience or journey that individual was going through to maybe hear, but just to put a broad statement like that and to tie in what you just said, what was going on at the time, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, it just goes back to, talking truth, talking stats, talking what you've been, your journey and what you've been studying and what you're trying to do at your organization. Just goes back to that and why you were brought into that training.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that. You share insights into the challenges women encounter while striving to achieve professional goals and how organizations can better address and mitigate these challenges?
Yeah, I would say that companies have to place value on all people. I think that has to be the priority. And for women, the lack of opportunity for advancement to higher levels of leadership really truly still exists. And more women are holding, the nation's most important corporate roles, just not that many more, right? There are more. When we look at some of the data, women now hold about 25% of the 5 crucial C-suite positions that are common to most organizations. And that's an increase from, I think, 23% in 2018. So not a lot of movement there. And according to Korn Ferry, they've done some analysis on this topic, and they indicate of the 1,000 or so largest corporations across 8 industries, that's what the data kind of reflects. And we see on average about roughly around 37% or so company leaders when we think about professionals with supervisory responsibilities, they are women, and women comprise about 28% of the even board of directors and higher, influential type positions like that. But even with those numbers being slightly higher, the challenges remain that there are still many who devalue women in a way that puts limits on advancement opportunities. So I encourage women to stay focused and not give up, because we know those challenges are there, but we are in a day where we have a voice. We haven't always had a voice, and we do have a voice. I think there have been many efforts from a legislative perspective, as well as from just really thoughtfulness perspective. So when we think about qualitative and quantitative efforts, there have been more, quantitative efforts where we are assessing data, looking at affirmative action goals, and are we meeting those goals and getting more people into organizations and into higher levels of leadership. But you really can't legislate fairness. You can only inspire it, which is where that qualitative piece comes in. Are we really being thoughtful about how we are engaging all people? And that obviously includes women. And I think a greater focus on a person's knowledge, skills, and abilities to do the job, and less on gender, has to remain a priority. And we're just still not there yet, Brooke. And I think that we in 2023 have to acknowledge that and know that we all still have work to do. Those who are in positions of power to bring in people who are more diverse, we need to leverage that option to do that a little bit more effectively. But we also need to better equip ourselves and understand the needed competencies to be successful as a leader.
Well said. As we move on to our last couple of questions, wanted to see if you can provide insight into your approach to fostering leadership competencies among women, including mentorship programs, initiatives, and recommendations for young aspiring women who may find themselves in a similar situation.
Yeah. Well, I do encourage mentorship. I think it's really important, and I would encourage any young person today to try and take advantage of any mentorship programs. I think the challenge, though, from that side, those who need mentoring, I think our current state with social media has given people a space and a platform where they don't think they need it. So they're going out and doing any and everything and becoming successful because social media dictates that now, right? People who are becoming influencers, and social media gives a platform for overnight celebrity status. And when people feel that becoming, you know, social media famous, that's their avenue for success, what are they going to do when it's shut down? I read a young lady's post a couple of days ago, or not read, I watched a video where she was frustrated as a TikToker. She's on TikTok, and her account is now showing as banned,
Like
I
banned?
think. A banned account. And I think she had millions of followers, and she has no idea why her account has been banned. And in her post, she said, I have obligations of things that I'm supposed to be posting. Like, I guess she's, selling things and sponsoring things, and is supposed to be recording these videos. And she can't do it because all these things are connected to that social media account. So it's negatively influencing or impacting her. But I think where that demonstration of missing link shows up is, what do you do when things aren't going the way they're supposed to go? Nobody's trained any of these folks on how to be a leader to be able to persevere when something that you were relying on from a technical perspective has now backfired on you. Did you build a solid mailing list, a distribution list? Did you create something outside of this social media platform? In my mind, that would have been something I would have taught someone who's going into a social media platform. What's your backup plan so that you can have access to these folks long term? It's difficult when social media controls that. So I think on that side of the table, those who are up and coming, aspiring leaders, get some mentorship, because some of us who are still a little bit old school, we can get some guidance. Now, those of us who are a little bit old school, we have to also be open, right? I'm open. I'm learning from my nieces in this whole space of social media. I was so excited to have 500 followers on TikTok, and she said, not so good, Auntie. You need about 10,000 to really have.
You're like, I don't even have that many friends in like normal.
So I was like,
It's like,
oh, okay. So I'm happy to say that I increased by about 300 after she and I recorded this video. I didn't know that would
I
happen. I
love,
was like, hey.
I love it.
We have to, on this side of the table, we also have to stand up.
Mhm.
I have seen too many people seeking mentorship and people who will turn their backs on them. Women who make it to higher levels of leadership, please stop turning your back. Please remember, you've got to turn around, look back, and pull some others up with you. There are some amazing young ladies out there who need mentors. Please open yourselves up to it. It can't just be, I made it. Oh, hey, Ma, look, Ma, I made it. And that's it. It has to be thoughtful about how can I help others along. And many women who have advanced, they forget to look back and help up. So let's do that. Let's commit to looking back and helping up. And I think that will make a huge difference for some of the other young ladies that are coming along, even if you were an entrepreneur. Because I think a lot of us, ventured into entrepreneurship because we were not getting those opportunities for advancement like we would have wanted. And I think that's an okay thing to do. But even if you have your own business, be thoughtful about how you can still help others as well.
I love that because I just from my experience, just like once you do get that promotion or you're getting that title that you want, it's you're so focused on, well, how did I get here? I need to keep steering my boat because no one else is going to help
Mm-hmm.
me. So
Yeah,
empowering each other, helping each other. How did you get here? How did you like just listen, the communication, and yeah, just we're all in this to empower one another, and that's I think
absolutely.
we forget that sometimes because we're so focused on getting to that next level and how are we going to do this.
Absolutely.
So I love that.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Well, our final question of today, is there anything you'd like to share or talk about with the work you're doing at the Crutchfield Group or just personally?
No, I think we talked about it a little bit. Again, my focus is on, my statement, my question is always, how can I help? I really want to be available to help folks. And I even offer a free 30-minute coaching session or a consulting session to help scope out what a person may need. So people can reach out to me and take advantage of that. I think that is one of the key things. My focus on leadership based on that peace model that I just shared, as well as my focus on lifestyle wholeness, which is also that peace model. So I've got two variations of my peace model, and my focus is on helping women. I have individuals that I coach in some settings that are men, but my focus is really on trying to help women as best I can. So anyone that is open or interested in receiving coaching, they can absolutely just reach out to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Angela, and continue doing the great work you're doing in the DEI space and the space for empowering women and all the leadership roles that we all have. And
Yeah.
I'm wishing you all the best.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brooke. I appreciate you all having me on.